Louisa, we welcome you, and we're truly honored to have you on our show. We hear and read a lot about you, and I'm truly happy and honored to meet you in person.
Well, shukran. I have to thank the Palestinians for what they teach to me every day.
You know, Palestinians and people in general read and hear a lot about you when it comes to political activism. But and we're going to talk about that, but today also we're curious about your personal life. And now we're going to go back in time and talk about first time you visited Palestine. How did you get involved in the Palestinian cause? And what was your motivation to coming here?
Well, I was, yes, very much involved in Italy in trade unions, concerned about workers' rights, human rights, international struggle. I was involved in Vietnam, I was involved in Latin America, South Africa. I was part of the anti-apartheid movement. And my main interest was Latin America and the revolution and the end of colonialism. Then Sabra Shatila happened. My life changed. I saw immediately the Palestinians, whom they were. But at that time they were refugees because it was Lebanon. It was before Jordan, it was Tal el-Zatar. And so what makes me to go to Lebanon before to come to Palestine, it was the siege of Burj el-Barajni. Mm-hmm. And to see the Palestinian women trying to save their life, trying to find food for their children, risk their life to going out, and Nabil Berri forces were attacking them. So I decided to go to Lebanon to see the Palestinians. And I discovered that Lebanon was very complicated. The Palestinians were refugees there, and we had, of course, to fight in order to get them to go back to their homes. But then I said, but the Palestinians, where they are? So they were in the West Bank, they were in Gaza. So I decided to come to Palestine in '86, before the first Intifada. And the first experience was actually through the work that even Abu Jihad was doing in Tunis, because in the meantime, between '82 and '86, when I came, in Amman, there was the meeting of the PLC. I attended this first meeting of the PLC, and there I discovered the leadership of the PLO, but also the leadership of the occupied territories, and I started to get relationship with them, and so I came to Palestine. First I went in the Triangle, not in 48 territories, in the Triangle, in El-Faim, Taibe, and Tira, and in Taibe I brought there immediately after I went for the first time 65 people, Italian, to build a kindergarten. And then in the meantime I came to visit the occupied territories, and I saw the occupation, so what it meant to the Palestinians, the daily occupation. So I discovered the occupation, and it was a really shock for me. I was born in Italy in the mountains, in one area that there was the first rebellion against the fascists and the Nazis. And my father was a freedom fighter in the mountains. So
Amazing.
that to come here and to see, for example, Ramallah and with the soldier every day, Daesha camp, all the Balata camp, Nablus, to visit all the different areas, it was really a shock. And from that moment I couldn't leave. I mean, Palestine, the injustice they live under, occupation and colonization, the prisoners, the women fighting. So the first Intifada took me, so I never stopped to come from that moment.
Wow, okay, amazing.
From that moment.
Before we continue on with our conversation, you mentioned something about visiting Sabra and Shatila 3 years or 2 years after the massacre. Tell us about that experience.
It was very moving. Not very easy to live inside Sabra Shatila. Not very easy for me and for other people who came with me to visit Sabra Shatila, but went inside. And I always remember when I entered Sabra Shatila, one thing that also I see here sometime after the Israeli are bombing Gaza, or after the Israeli during the second Intifada were making I mean, they were surrounded the city, they were sieging the cities. I saw all the things destroyed, and one bunch of flower growing inside these destroyed homes. It was like, I said, look, these people, are there under this destruction,
Yes.
and they think about flowers. So it was something very important. And to meet women who were so courageous, living inside the camp, resisting every day. But I came back anyway, going to look for Palestinians in the occupied territories.
As a former member of the European Parliament, how did you use your authority and power to affect the European Parliament to take action against Israeli violations of international law?
Well, since I became member of the parliament, but before as trade unionist, but as activist, but in the European Parliament, I was the head of the relationship with the Palestinian Legislative Council. I became member of parliament in 1999. And I always was very adamant in denouncing the occupation, the violation of human rights, the violation of Oslo Agreement made by the Israelis. So I also organized a lot of delegation of members of parliament to come and see with their own eyes. And I remember one member of parliament from Austria that he was very much pro-Israeli because he didn't know, he was just listening to the hasbara of the Israelis. So I told to him, come and see. So with him and others, I brought them to Hebron. And when he got to Hebron, he got crazy. He couldn't believe that inside the town, inside Hebron, there were settlers who were just closing down shops with the military, of course, destroying the situation in Hebron. To see on the top the settler and down, people couldn't even stay because they were throwing stone and everything. So this made him to go back and to come back with us and to fight. And so it was very important, I think, to organize this member of parliament delegation outside of the formalities.
Yes.
It's different when you came here with meeting only the big leaders, or coming here and do what I did to bring them to South Hebronese, to Hebron, to Belaim, to Nabi Saleh, to all the, above all in South Hebronese, in the Jordan Valley, to bring them and to see with their to Gaza, and to see with their own eyes what it meant, the occupation. Very different. To meet the people in the street, in the field, that they were resisting the occupation through non-military struggle, through non-violent struggle, but they were resisting only breathing because, and it was very important when they saw, for example, the slogan, "To exist is to exist," which was in the Jordan Valley, which was everywhere. Because really it's like that. Palestinian people resist only walking, only waking up in the morning, having breakfast. That's also resistance.
Yes.
And when the mothers, I remember the first Intifada, it was incredible when the Israeli really tried to destroy the Palestinian society, closing university, closing school, arresting the women who were teaching to their children. So they really tried to destroy a nation, because when you destroy education, you destroy a nation. And that was really great. To see all this, it meant to be active inside the parliament. And I think in that period of time, we had some success with the European Commission and with the member of parliament and in the public opinion. Unfortunately, nowadays it's not like this. It's very difficult, the situation in Europe. Europe is more concerned about themselves. There is a lot of racism coming out, and we have really to be involved also in our society to change it. And Palestine is not anymore on the top of there. Yeah. So we have to go back and to make Palestine the center, because Palestine is something that I never saw in any part of the world. I mean, the violation of human rights. Yeah. And really Israel should be taken accountable. And as European, I feel the responsibility. Sometimes I want to ask, forgive us, because it's our responsibility if the Israeli can do what they do even today in building settlements like we see here in the settlements, and having settlers so violent and so aggressive, which is not only settler, are the government, are the minister who are settlers themselves. So I really feel the responsibility of this. as us European, we are allowing the Israeli not to be accountable.
You mentioned something about bringing people into delegations to visit Palestine and seeing for themselves how the situation is. For those who've never been here, how do you describe life of Palestinians under Israeli occupation, and what's the most difficult challenges Palestinians go through on a daily basis?
Well, look, the first Intifada was much easier to speak to people. I remember that in Italy we had a demonstration with 150,000 people asking for the state of Palestine, for the freedom. The first Intifada was something which gave us to show how the Palestinian, all a population was there resisting and asking freedom. But so the second Intifada was really devastating. The Israelis started to say there is no partner for peace. But are the Israelis don't have partner for peace? They always had partner for peace with the Palestinians. But the Israelis don't have. They say, where is Mandela? Where is the man? Everybody asks themselves, where is the Palestinian Mandela? I always say to them, look, you have millions of Mandela in Palestine. You have Marwan Barghouti who's in jail. He could be the Mandela. But the problem is that the Israelis don't have Clark.
Yes.
So it's the Israelis who are not. So I think that when they come here, people, and see with their eyes, they go back. For example, after I left the parliament, because I decided to leave the parliament because I was old, because I already had mandates, I started to organize anyhow civilian, Italian civilian society to come here. We came here 3 times a month. And these people, when they go back, they have to become active. So what we are doing in Italy is very important, because they go back and they tell to everybody what they have seen, what is the truth.
Yes.
And also, beside that, we organize in Italy, for example, because it's very important, to show to Europe, to show to the Italians that Palestinians are not only the popular committee, the resistance they do daily in their land, not to be taken away, not to be evacuated, but it's the creativity of the Palestinians. Palestinians are really creative. Every time I'm surprised. I came here and I found, it's a miracle for me. Every time I find new things. Young people making parkour, young people writing, people making film, theater. Not so young people to go on working, making business or working in the field, resisting on their land. So it's really a miracle. So we want to show to the European and to the Italian above all, for what it concerns myself, that Palestinian is a vibrant culture. One issue which we are making a campaign in Italy is the question of political prisoners.
Yes.
Still now there are more than 5,000 political prisoners, among them members of parliament, among them children, women, administrative detention. People are on strike, hunger strike, and they do everything to show to the world that how unjust is that they are in jail. They are there because they want freedom. So we are making a campaign for the freedom of all political prisoners, with the campaign also of Marwan Barghouti, of course, also Akbar Sadat, Khalid Jarrar, all the people who are in jail deserve to be nominated, but we cannot nominate 5,000 prisoners. So we choose a symbol, which is Marwan Barghouti, and actually we launched the campaign in Robben Island. That was the last gift, I think, that Mandela gave to the Palestinians. To have in Robben Island the launch of the campaign to free Marwan Barghouti. And I really hope that Marwan Barghouti from his cell can see your television and say to him that we are really proud of him, and he should be really free like all the political prisoners.
Louisa, you've witnessed various important events and periods of time throughout history in Palestine, such as the First Intifada and the Second Intifada. Tell us about a striking memory or experience you've had here that you vividly recall and that affects you until now.
My God, there are so many, really so many. In the First Intifada, it was, even if every day the soldiers were coming after 12 o'clock in the city. I remember one day coming down from from Nablus, for example, in the first Intifada, in Balata camp, at 5 o'clock, all the kids went on the air because it was forbidden to show the Palestinian flag at that time. So people should remember that there were a time where the Palestinian flag got 5 years of jail. And so it was so impressive coming down from Nablus and seeing the soldiers inside the camp and the children who were just putting the kit on the air with the Palestinian flag. That was something small, but it's something that always stayed in my mind. But I cannot say, I mean, the second Intifada I can remember very well because I was in Ramallah during the siege, I was in Nablus, so to see people were hanging from the window because they couldn't go out, and we were bringing, for example, food or cigarette. Remember one in Ramallah who asked, do you have a cigarette? So I don't smoke. But it was fun to see this boy that was close, couldn't come out, and to see also the people killed during the second Intifada. In Ramallah, one day I was taken as a human shield because they wanted to arrest many people, and the soldier came with the tanks and they were stealing even. I saw them stealing from the car of the people were the police, the Palestinian police. And then with one doctor, is Mohammed Iskrat, really was great, we were trying to save the situation, and the Israeli came and bombed, and one guy was falling down from the third floor. So we went out trying to get him and rescue him from the soldier. I cannot say how many. But then in Gaza also, when I went there after the bombing in 2000, after Kasslid operation, and to see the devastation and the people, and at that time the Israelis were saying, we will get you back to the Middle Ages. And they destroy houses, every time they destroy houses, destroy everything. And really it's something that stays in your heart. So sometimes I say that I started my coming here to contribute to the liberation of the Palestinian people. After 37 years, I'm still here, I'm still smooth. In the same time, I say I would like to liberate myself from Palestine, but I can't.
We're not going to liberate.
I can't because I love too much this country, I love too much this land, the people. So I really hope that, for example, the Palestinian people can find unity. They find unity and to be united and really resist all together without division for one thing: to be free from occupation, to be free from colonization.
Well, about liberating you, we're not going to liberate you. You're stuck with us forever.
No, I'm stuck. I love too much this place.
Luisa, it's known that Palestinians and Italians have been on great terms throughout history. And Italy has great positions supporting and standing up for the Palestinian cause. But why the Italian government hasn't recognized Palestine as a country yet?
That's our...
As a politician?
Yes, as a politician, I'm very worried. We try to break the walls of the government and to break the wall the member of parliament because it's true. The public opinion is more in favor of the Palestinian right. They understand. Not all, but they understand most of it. But the Italian government, Italy has changed a lot, like Europe has changed a lot. Now there are a lot of, in the government, there were ministers who were totally pro-Israeli, saying that for every time Israel. And I'm not saying I'm against Israel, I'm for the Palestinians. I'm saying I'm for human rights. I am for the rights of the Palestinians to live in their own land. So our government changed a lot, the situation in Europe changed a lot. And now, unfortunately, we have, also because the Israelis are really able to work on communication. They are really to spend a lot of money investing in saying that if we are against the Israeli government, we are anti-Semitic. Not at all.
That's the excuse.
Not at all. We have to really to be able to fight back and say, no, we are not anti-Semitic. But it's not the Jewish question, it's the
No.
Israeli colonialist,
Zionist.
the colonialist power and the colonial position. Is Israel grabbing the land, wanted to have the greater Israel? So this is a big problem because they always terrify people saying you're anti-Semitic, so people shut down. No, I will not shut down because I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm against the policy of colonization of the Israeli, and they have to know. And I really hope that inside the Israeli society will come voices which are not only the very important voices of refusing, the young people who are refused to go to serve in the army, or breaking the silence, or B'Tselem, or many people who say that occupation kills all. So I think we have to work also us
Yes.
with them and to make
Yes.
their voices to be heard, and not only the voices of the right wing, of the settlers who are doing fanatic things, who are really, I don't know how to describe them. They know they're wrong. They know
Yes.
they're wrong. But they're still here thinking that this land is given to them by God. What? God doesn't give the land to the people. So it's a question of, and when you say that you are the chosen people, sorry, you are racist.
Yes, yes, it is true.
To have children go to school without fear, to have people not seeing their land being grabbed and taken away, to see the olive trees dying because the settlers are burning them. So that's our task. So that's I cannot leave Palestine.
Stay, please.
Even if I really would like to enjoy some holidays. But here is for me is life.
Yeah.
And I always thank the Palestinians to teach me life.
Wow. How do you see Palestine in 100 years? And what do you think?
What a question.
What? Okay.
I will not be alive.
Me either. But I'm curious to know, how do you see Palestine?
I really would like to see Palestine, like I always thought Palestine would be a democratic, free, secular country with religion separated from the state. Each one has his own religion, but not fighting each other. And because Palestinians are very creative also in, can you see? The Israeli destroyed and they rebuilt. I mean, the Palestinians made half Middle East, no?
Yes,
with their
yes.
intelligence, with their capability. So I think if there was not the occupation, the Palestinians will really be able to. So we have to get rid of the occupation, but also get
what is the key? What is the key to end the Israeli occupation that's been going on for decades?
To be united and to show that the Palestinians have a culture and they are to exist. It's very difficult to say how, because I know how. It would be very simple. If our government changes their position, they start to, they start to make Israeli accountable for their own crimes and to stop the settlements. How can we change this policy? That's the problem. How altogether, and also how the Palestinians can, I cannot ask more to the Palestinians. They're fed up, they're tired, they're under occupation, they're resisting, they did everything they could, but in the same time, they're under occupation. So also the Palestinians should find a way to speak to the international community and to be able also to tell their narratives, not to let the Israeli to grab all the narratives. And
Louisa, my last question for you. What is the message you would like to deliver to the world about Palestine and Palestinians?
That the world should understand that the Palestinians have the right to live in their own land, that what was done to the Palestinians was a great injustice, and they should repair it. I think all of us should ask forgiveness to the Palestinians to have allowed the Israeli to do this thing to destroy the land, to grab the land, to destroy the life of Palestinians. And I hope also that one day you could. So that's the main issue. I mean, the world should understand this and act for this. And I also hope that the Palestinians will be able to make alliances, not to be inside themselves, but
Yeah.
to be able to speak to the world, even if they can never lose hope, maybe.
Mhm.
But I think that when I see a girl like you, for example, a woman like you, I feel very well of people who are working here in the television,
Yes.
of Amira who is standing to
Mhm.
resist against the occupation. There is still hope. So you are here.
Yes.
You are doomed to stay.
Yes, we are going to stay. Louisa, thank you very much for being with us, and thank you very much for all the great work you do in Palestine, and thank you for being part of our struggle and resistance, and thank you for standing up for justice.
Thank you to you too much. Thank you to the Palestinian people. And we hope to do something.
Inshallah.
Shukran.
Shukran.